Islamic State militants have been held at bay for now, thanks in large part to U.S. airstrikes in Iraq. But could they become a threat on U.S. soil if they aren't dealt with using more force? Joining us this morning with analysis and perspective is Fox 6 contributor and former U.S. Army Ranger Matt Bacik, who has 3 Purple Hearts after serving the U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan, is now the CEO of the Bacik Group. Matt, good to see you.
Good morning.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff says that he insists this Islamic State terror group is only a regional threat, and that he doesn't think right now, anyway, that airstrikes are necessary. Do you agree?
Well, I think they're a regional threat, and I think the same threats we face from a domestic point of view is basically, getting blindsided by a September 11 type attack. And I think we face that threat whether we act in Syria and Iraq or not. So I don't think that that's necessarily the driving force in how we should handle it. I think what's interesting about ISIS is, they went from basically the most well-funded terrorist organization in the world to the least funded state actor in the world. So, they're really...
What do you mean by that?
By state actor, like Al-Qaeda's mission was to establish the Islamic Caliphate in the Middle East, religious, an Islamic-based state. And ISIS came into play as the actual state actor. So the ISIS mission is to govern that region. And they've got a lot of difficulties as far as, how are they collecting oil revenues, how are they coercing people into sticking around to run oil pipelines and sell oil into the black market.
So now we know that we have sent reconnaissance flights, we've sent some surveillance flights, whether drones or manned aircraft, into Syria.
Correct.
So is it inevitable we're bombing Islamic militants next? We're going into Syria to do that?
I think so, and I think the enemy of our enemy is our friend. So we need to decide if we're going to team up with Syria or if we're going to try to pick some of the resistance movement and fight against Syria.
That makes it a complex thing, because now you're picking friends and who are going to be your enemies.
Correct.
Well, now look, if we do go after the Islamic State in Syria, is there really anything Syria can do about it? Because the prime minister there said he's against it.
Correct. I mean, there's nothing they could do. I mean, we could drop the bombs wherever we wanted to. I think it might be in our best interest to do it in a way that that we've got their buy-in also.
Okay. Now, it's no secret, obviously, that we have unsecured borders in the southwest portion of our country. Is it inconceivable to think that some of these Islamic militants haven't already made their way into our country or will make their way into U.S. soil and be able to cause damage?
It's not inconceivable. I mean, that's how the 9/11 hijackers got here. They didn't cross through the Mexican border, but the borders are porous, and it is very likely that there's threats within the country. Not
just from them. But now, by most estimates, this ISIS group, ISIL, whatever you want to call them, they're more heavily financed than those guys that planned and executed 9/11. So without a defined plan, how do we deal with this going forward?
I think, first of all, I'm not a big fan of the current administration, but I think that they're doing a wise thing by allowing them to develop into an identifiable organization. And at that point, we can do whatever we want with them. We can employ very effective military force, or we can kind of try to keep them bounded.
Are they that powerful to where, okay, let's say you bomb them, now you send in some special ops guys, would that be enough? And in that case, we are talking about boots on the ground,
right?
But again, in a special operations type mission.
I think the problem with that is, you can keep cutting off the head of the snake, and the snake is just going to grow a new head. So, we won't defeat the idea of an Islamic Caliphate in the Middle East by just taking out key leaders all the time. I think those bumper stickers that say coexist. I mean, part of the coexist is to figure out whose side we're going to be on, and if we can kind of contain and bound this threat.
Okay. All right. Well, Matt Bacik, I appreciate it. We'll continue to follow this because we know some things could develop rather quickly. Thank you so much, and thank you for your service as always.
Thanks.
All right.